Hi, this is Minter Chen. In the last installment, we're going to move on to the contemporary things in management. And there's some rising trend that may affect how we manage the modern organizations or run our business. One is rising millennials and what they value. And there's also increasing concern for environmental related issue and sustainability. A lot of consumers are demanding more personalized and customized product or services. And the pace of innovation has been speeding up. So keep up with innovation is a basic surviving skill for most of the organization. And as a society, we also have to deal with disparity between income classes. People are more connected through social media, such as Facebook, Twitters, etc. And certainly upfront, what's happening now is the rise in global trade war and instability in the geopolitical arena. As a society, there's increase in mobility of workforce, and part of the workforce are so-called creative class. They're on the rise just because we're moving into the so-called knowledge economy. And because of the enabling technology, there's an increase in terms of collaboration, particularly using collaborative software, so virtual teamwork become a norm instead of exception. Some contemporary management trend, such as learning organization, virtual organization, global organization or multinational firms, lean organization or organization enabled by IT. IT stands for information technology, and also how we manage startup organization are also an important issue that we do cover it in another class called entrepreneurship. Just give an example in terms of the learning organization. Just because of the rapid increase in terms of the knowledge and technology, and also the dynamic nature and environment most of the business operate under. It's very important that we learn from our past experiences, and also we learn from each other. We will also learn how to apply more systemic problem-solving skill in dealing with challenge that we're facing. And another way, just because to deal with uncertainty is through experimentation, because a lot of challenge we'll be facing may not have a prior solution or experience that we can rely on. So the only way to deal with it is to take a more experimental approach, to learn from the trial and error, and learn really fast and adjust accordingly. And also be able to transfer what we learned and the knowledge we have learned to other part of the organization and learn from each other. And here's just a few videos that kind of talk about learning organization. Globalization certainly affects any business, even your local business. You may be affected by the recent trade war because some of the goods that you may have purchased abroad, just because of the increase in tariff, the cost may increase, and that's something you have to deal with. So in this few slides, we kind of try to explain why global trends might influence management. And the globalization is partially actually caused by global trade. And company actually are producing goods or importing goods where it's the cheapest, and just because of the cost of the transportation across country borderline become cheaper and cheaper, so the global trade to some extent makes sense in terms of we will import goods where it is cheapest. We will produce goods to where it may have the cheapest labor. And certainly you have to watch out for the qualified labor force that's available. And so global trade intensified the globalization trend. And also our work environments are more diverse than ever before. And because of the globalization, we're facing culture and language challenges in terms of our customers, our employee, or business partner we work with. Here's a brief video describe globalization and global trade and the management of transnational firms. Another issue which we'll touch base just briefly, we will occasionally come back to discuss this as well, is business ethics, and sometimes referred to as values-based leaderships. And certainly, as a manager, you will, one or the other, face some decision that you need to think, and not just from a pure business viewpoint in terms of making more money, but also make sure you are compliant to the business ethics. And you need to understand why ethics are relevant to management. And also we will, when we talk about decision making, we'll discuss how we would consider business ethics in the context of decision making and the kind of ethical challenge that managers may face. And we have third story about companies, managers that has ethical lapse or do horrible things, and why that is happening. And because a lot of time there will be pressures for them to meet unrealistic business objectives and deadlines. And also sometimes from an individual interest viewpoint, there's a strong desire for people to further their career. And one way to get there is maybe do something that may not be so ethical. And also people would do things that may not be considered ethical to protect their own jobs and their powered base. Last, not the least, this is just an example of government regulation that may affect the governing of any organization, and certainly in this case is the business and particularly public firms. Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which is a bill passed by the Congress in 2002 due to some highly publicized fraud at firms such as Enron, and you probably heard about Enron, WorldCom, which is a telecom company, Tyco, that government finally decided they have to step in instead of trusting company to govern themselves. They decided to create legislation in terms of to make sure that top level managers are comply to certain federal standards. First of all, is to resolve the conflict of interest by the auditor and the analyst, and also enhance the governing power of the board of directors. and also give Security and Exchange Commission, the so-called SEC, enough funding so they can kind of police or regulate the public firms. This bill was named after Senator Paul Saban and Michael Oxlade. And by the way, there is a video from Investopedia with the link here that you can kind of have a quick lesson on the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. In short, sometimes we just call it SOC. I will, instead of reading the bullet points here, I would point out some key item in this bill. And one is that the regulation required CEO to sign the tax filing to prevent CEO from claiming that they're not aware of fraudulent acts within their firm, which means that whatever prepared by your accountant, you are responsible for it. You cannot just say that that's the accounting firm who screwed up. Also that the top management, the CFO, the CEO, if they try to alter and destroy financial record, they will be held criminally responsible for it. So that's pretty much it.